My name is Noel. I used to think my life was stable. Predictable, even. Savannah and I had been married for 6 years, and in all that time, I genuinely believed we were building something solid together. We had a rhythm, you know? Like a well-rehearsed duet. Morning coffee, shared playlists on the way to work, occasional takeout dinners in our small but cozy home just outside of Austin. Our neighborhood was quiet, the kind of place where kids ride bikes in cul-de-sacs and everyone waves even if they don't know your name. It felt safe. Savannah worked in marketing, one of those high-energy, creative agencies with funky logos and office dogs. I worked in IT support for a large tech company downtown. We didn't exactly have matching careers, but we always made time to show up for each other. Whether it was a dull company banquet or a networking mixer, Savannah was by my side, smiling through the awkward conversations and bad hors d'oeuvres. We were a team. So when she told me she'd be out of town for 3 days on a women-only off-site strategy session, I didn't question it. I didn't even blink. She framed it like a bonding thing with her female coworkers, complete with wine tastings, breakout sessions, and rustic lodges out in the hill country. No spouses, she said, laughing, company policy. You wouldn't want to hang around us talking about branding for hours anyway. She wasn't wrong. That sounded awful. She packed 2 nights' worth of clothes, curled her hair that morning, gave me a quick peck on the cheek, and was gone by noon. Said she'd text when she arrived. She did around 3:15 p.m. A photo came through shortly after, rolling hills, some trees, a cabin-style building in the distance. Made it. Love you, was all the caption said. And just like that I was home alone. The first few hours passed like any normal evening. I threw together something simple for dinner, frozen ravioli and salad. I fed our dog, Jasper. I queued up a documentary I'd been meaning to watch. Just the kind of night where everything feels uneventful. But right around 8 p.m. I was cleaning up the plates when I noticed her tablet sitting on the corner of the dining table. That stopped me. Savannah never left her work tablet behind. It was practically an extension of her arm. She took it to meetings, vacations, even to the dentist. She once reviewed a pitch deck in the waiting room during my root canal. So seeing it sitting there felt off. At first, I told myself to ignore it. Just put it in her office and forget about it. But something gnawed at me. This tiny, unsettling whisper in my brain kept repeating, why would she leave it behind if this was a work trip? I stared at it for a long time. It was locked. Naturally. But I knew the passcode. I wasn't spying or snooping. We had set up the same password across our devices when we upgraded everything during the holidays. It was a mutual thing. Transparency had always been part of our relationship. Or at least, I thought it was. Even still, I hesitated. I remember standing in our kitchen, tablet in hand, heart pounding like I'd done something wrong just by thinking about unlocking it. But the thing was, I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't trying to catch her in a lie. I just wanted to put my own doubts to rest. To see something on the calendar that confirmed the off-site retreat, maybe a file titled Team Agenda or Strategy Outline. Just something boring and work-related. So I entered the passcode. The screen opened without issue. What I found wasn't what I expected. There was no calendar entry for a company offsite. No Zoom links, no itinerary, no emails from her boss. But there was one entry, bold, color-coded in soft pink, titled Cottage Weekend, Just Us. Location, Winding Pines Cottage, TX. Dates, March 9th to March 11th. Notes, wine, hiking, no phones. I stared at the screen, blinking. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe this was something she'd planned for us and forgot to cancel? Maybe it was old? But no, the dates matched exactly with her supposed work trip. And this wasn't some corporate team-building Airbnb. I tapped the reservation link. It was a 2-person romantic getaway. King suite, fireplace, wine welcome basket. It was current. It was real. And it wasn't for me. I couldn't move. My hands started shaking before I even realized what was happening. I scrolled through the tablet, unsure of what I was even looking for. No messages, no names. Just the calendar. But that entry, it felt like a punch to the chest. My breath caught in my throat as I reread the title over and over again. Just us. Not team strategy. Not work retreat. Just us. And I wasn't the us. I sat down at the table and just stared at the tablet in front of me. I think I sat there for a solid hour without moving. The lights were still on. Jasper sat by my feet, quietly watching me like he knew something was wrong. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. I tried to think back. Had there been signs? Anything that felt strange? But the truth was, Savannah was good at covering her tracks. If there had been cracks, she'd painted over them with confident smiles and detailed excuses. And I believed her. Every time. Eventually, I set the tablet down and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. My throat was dry and I felt like my whole body had forgotten how to breathe. I leaned against the counter and stared into the empty living room. Everything around me felt suddenly foreign, like this wasn't my house anymore. Like I didn't belong in the life I'd built. And the worst part? I still didn't know who it was. Was it someone I knew? A stranger? Someone from her office? My mind ran wild with possibilities. I knew I couldn't sit still, not with this pit growing in my stomach. I picked the tablet back up, stared at the address of the cottage one more time. Then I made a decision. I was going to drive out there. To Winding Pines. To see for myself what this trip really was. Because even though every bone in my body was telling me I already knew, I needed the truth to slap me in the face before I could accept it. I changed into jeans, grabbed my keys, and told Jasper to stay. My hands were still trembling when I locked the door behind me. I drove through the night in silence, no music, no podcasts, just the sound of my thoughts clashing like thunder in my head. 3 hours later, I was parked on a gravel road just beyond a line of trees, staring at the warm glow of a cottage nestled in the hill. The porch was strung with soft lights. 2 wine glasses sat on the railing. And laughter, soft and asterisk made unmistakably familiar, drifted through the evening air. I didn't even need to open the door yet. I already knew. But I wasn't going to leave until I saw it with my own eyes. I sat in the car for a long time after I saw the cottage. I couldn't bring myself to get out. Not yet. My hands were gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from flying apart. In the distance, the porch lights flickered gently, casting a warm golden hue over the front steps. It looked romantic. Too romantic. I watched shadows moving behind the curtains, 2 people. Close. A silhouette that looked like Savannah's familiar posture, the way she tilted her head when she laughed. And she was laughing. I could hear it from the trees. That high, fluttery kind of laugh she used when she wanted someone to feel special. The kind that used to be just for me. And in that silence, in that unbearable stillness, things started clicking in my head. Memories, little moments I had buried or brushed off, started bubbling to the surface. There were signs. God, there were signs. I just didn't want to see them. It started months ago. Small changes. Savannah began putting her phone on Do Not Disturb mode constantly. She said it was to disconnect from work, but even during dinner? During weekends? She used to be glued to that thing. Suddenly it was flipped face down every time she was near me. I'd glance at it and catch the screen lighting up, but she'd ignore it. Or worse, she'd pick it up, look at it for half a second, then lock it without a word. Then there were the girls' nights. They started happening more often. Once a month became once a week. I didn't complain. At first, I figured she needed time with her friends. Everyone deserves that. But it became a pattern. Always on weekends. Always getting back late. Always some new outfit I'd never seen before, a slinky dress, heels she didn't wear for me anymore, different lipstick. One time I even asked, "Where'd you get that dress?" She smiled and said, "Oh, I've had it for ages," like I wouldn't notice. But I knew her closet. We used to go shopping together. She used to ask for my opinion. She came home smelling different too. Not like our detergent. Not like her perfume. Something else, something expensive. Sometimes cologne, sometimes just foreign. I tried to ignore it. Told myself she probably brushed past someone at work. Or maybe it was a new soap from a friend's place. I wanted to believe those things. One night, maybe 2 months ago, I noticed she had turned her location sharing off. That one stung. We'd always shared locations, not because we were tracking each other like hawks, but because it made us feel connected. Safe. If she got a flat tire on the highway or I got stuck at work, we knew where the other was. So when I saw that gray message, "Location not available," something twisted in my gut. "Did your phone glitch?" I asked casually. She barely looked up. "Oh, probably. It's been acting weird lately." That was her answer for everything that didn't make sense. It's been weird lately. Her schedule, her moods, even her excuses. Then came the emotional distance. She wasn't present anymore, not really. I'd talk and she'd half listen. Her responses were short. Sometimes she'd stare at her phone with a look I didn't recognize, like she was somewhere else entirely. Some nights she'd come to bed hours after me. Said she was working. Lights from her office would shine under the door until 2 or 3 a.m. And yet, I still convinced myself it wasn't what it looked like. Because if I admitted what it was, I'd have to admit that the person I loved more than anyone in the world, the person I trusted with everything, was slipping away from me. Or worse, choosing to walk away. I told myself she was burned out. Overwhelmed with work. Maybe going through some kind of quiet depression she didn't know how to talk about. I bought her favorite snacks. Left her notes in her purse. I even planned a weekend trip to the lake, just us two. She said she couldn't go, too much going on at the office. Later that same weekend, I found out she'd gone wine tasting with the girls. She posted a photo with a vague caption, but it was cropped tightly like she was hiding who else was there. I showed it to my buddy Sam and said, "Do you think that looks like a guy's arm next to her?" He shrugged. Said I was overthinking. Maybe I was. But maybe I wasn't. I started to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. Every time I reached for her, she pulled away physically and emotionally. She stopped asking about my day. We stopped watching our shows together. The routines that made us feel like us slowly vanished. I remember one night, we were brushing our teeth side by side and I turned to her and said, "Do you still feel like we're good?" She looked at me like I'd spoken in another language. She smiled, sort of, and said, "Of course." But she didn't meet my eyes. And that smile, it wasn't hers. It was a placeholder. I didn't believe her. But I wanted to. I thought maybe I was being insecure. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I hadn't been paying enough attention. I even brought it up with my brother, Tyler, during lunch one weekend. Told him Savannah felt distant and I was worried. He just said, "Relationships go through phases, man. Don't freak out over one rough patch." So I didn't. I let it go. I didn't dig. Until now. Now, with the tablet open on the kitchen table, all of those little pieces rearranged themselves into a full picture I could no longer ignore. The forgotten tablet wasn't just a mistake, it was a crack in the mask. A slip in the story. I kept flipping through the tablet, searching for any thread of the truth. There wasn't much. Savannah was careful. But the calendar entry was enough. The address. The tone of the notes. The heart emoji. She had planned something in asterisk mate. Something she didn't want me to see. Something that had no room for me. And then something inside me changed. I wasn't going to wait around anymore. I wasn't going to keep playing the role of the trusting husband while she built a life behind my back. So I made the drive. I remember watching the miles roll by, headlights carving through the darkness. My fingers clenched the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Part of me was hoping it was all a misunderstanding. That maybe the cottage wasn't what I thought it was. Maybe she'd be sitting inside with a circle of women drinking rose, planning spreadsheets, and laughing about customer engagement. But deep down, I already knew. I think I'd known for weeks. Maybe months. The problem wasn't that I didn't see the signs. The problem was I saw every single one. I just chose not to believe them. I don't remember getting out of the car. I just remember the sound, crushed gravel under my boots as I walked toward the cottage. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be having a panic attack. My fingers were tingling. My throat dry. But I kept walking. It was a beautiful place, honestly. String lights were wrapped around the porch columns like something out of a magazine. There was a fire pit in the yard and 2 half-empty wine glasses on a small table beside the door. Everything was soft and quiet and still. The kind of atmosphere you only create when you want to forget the outside world even exists. I wish I could say I knocked. I wish I could say I was calm and composed, that I walked in like some dignified man just wanting to ask questions. But I didn't. I opened the door. I didn't even hesitate. And what I saw, it's burned into me. There she was. Savannah. My wife. The woman I had promised my life to. She was in someone else's arms, her fingers in his hair, lips on his, their bodies pressed together like the world didn't exist. She didn't hear the door open. She didn't even know I was there. I didn't need context. I didn't need explanations. The scene said everything. She pulled back when she heard my footsteps. Her eyes widened when she saw me. But it wasn't shock. It was irritation. Like I had just shown up uninvited to some private gathering. "Noelle," she said. "That's it. Just my name. Not oh my God, not wait, I can explain. Just Noelle." That's when I realized she wasn't caught in a moment of weakness. This was planned. This was intentional. She stepped away from him slowly, but not like someone ashamed, more like someone annoyed they had to deal with an inconvenience. She adjusted her dress, brushed her hair back, and didn't say another word. The guy, tall, smug, vaguely familiar, turned around, a wine glass still in his hand. And then it hit me. I knew him. Eli. It was Eli. He used to work at my company. I had helped him get a better job last year, recommended him to a friend in a startup downtown. We had grabbed beers after work, shared stories about our careers. I vouched for him. Gave him a glowing reference. And now here he was. With my wife. In a cottage booked for 2. Savannah moved toward me like she was about to explain, but I took a step back. I couldn't trust what would come out of her mouth. Not anymore. Not after everything I'd ignored. Not after this. Eli finally spoke. "Look, Manda. Don't, I said, louder than I meant to. Don't say a damn word. The room went quiet. So quiet I could hear the hum of the mini-fridge under the kitchenette. Savannah looked at me again but still didn't seem panicked. She was too calm. Too resigned. She wasn't scrambling to apologize. She wasn't crying. She just folded her arms and stared at me like I was being dramatic for showing up. That hit harder than anything else. This wasn't some drunken mistake. This wasn't a slip-up or a one-time thing. This was a life she had stepped into without me. A version of her I didn't even recognize. I took a slow breath, trying to find the words. My whole body was shaking, not with rage, exactly, but something deeper. Something colder. Grief, maybe? Or the shock of seeing your entire world rewritten in real time. How long? I asked. My voice cracked a little, but I didn't care. How long has this been going on? Savannah didn't answer at first. She just tilted her head like she was thinking. Then finally she shrugged. A few months, she said. That was it? A few months. Said like it was nothing. Like we weren't married. Like those months weren't carved out of my time, stolen from my life, from my trust. I felt sick. Eli stepped forward again like he was going to try reasoning with me, but I raised my hand. I swear to God, don't, I said. You don't get to say anything. He backed off. Good. He had enough nerve showing up here in the first place. Savannah sat down on the armrest of the couch and crossed her legs. Her tone shifted. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said. I blinked. You booked a romantic cottage with him for 3 days. What exactly did you mean? She rolled her eyes. You don't understand. I laughed then. It was bitter. Ugly. You're right. I don't. Help me out. She stood, walked toward me, and for a split second I thought she was going to reach for me. Instead, she stopped a few feet away, arms still crossed. Noelle, I've been bored. I've been tired. Our life, it's all schedules and bills and routine. You don't even see me anymore. That one stung. Because it wasn't completely untrue. We'd fallen into patterns. Comfortable ones. Safe ones. But I thought that was marriage. I thought building a life meant you stopped chasing adrenaline and started chasing peace. You needed excitement? I asked, my voice quiet now. So this is how you got it? She didn't respond. And honestly, I don't think she had an answer. I turned to leave, but stopped at the door. I looked at both of them, her in her new dress, him in a button-down shirt like this was some weekend getaway to Napa. They weren't just betraying me. They were playing house. You two deserve each other, I said. I hope this was worth it. And then I left. I didn't look back. I didn't wait for her to run after me. She didn't. Back in the car, I stared at my own reflection in the rearview mirror. My face looked pale. My eyes bludge *T. I had gone there thinking maybe I'd misunderstood. That maybe, just maybe, it wasn't what it looked like. But it was worse. I sat there for a long time. Eventually, I drove home in silence. The roads were empty. Every turn felt mechanical, like my body was moving, but my mind had stayed back in that room. And that was the night I realized something I hadn't wanted to believe. She didn't just cheat. She had already left me. I just hadn't caught up yet. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat on the edge of our bed until sunrise, staring at the dark void where Savannah used to lay, where her scent still lingered on the pillow. I felt like a ghost in my own house, moving, breathing, but empty. I had replayed it all in my head 100 times, her face when she saw me at the cottage, the way she frowned like I was the one who had done something wrong, the way she shrugged when I asked how long, the way Eli didn't even pretend to be ashamed. That cottage had been the last lie uncovered. There was nothing left to deny. No more room for benefit of the doubt. No more excuses or theories or hope. But I wasn't just broken. I was angry, and not the kind of anger that burns hot and fast. This was cold, focused, steady. And I knew right then, I wasn't going to go quietly. I wasn't going to be the guy who fades into the background while they play happy little lovebirds in secret. No. If they wanted this secret life, I was going to drag it into the light. The next day, I woke up with one goal in mind. Confront them publicly. Not to humiliate them out of pettiness, but to take back the narrative. They'd been writing my story without me, casting me as the clueless husband while they played house behind closed doors. That ended now. I found out where they were staying that evening. Not from Savannah. She had stopped texting me completely. But she'd forgotten to log out of her cloud calendar on her tablet. I spotted an invite. Dinner with E. Tanglewood Inn. A cute little lodge-turned bistro not far from the cottage. Perfect. I put on my nicest shirt. The one Savannah used to compliment. You look sharp in navy. she used to say. I didn't do it for her. I did it because I wanted to walk into that room looking like the version of myself she underestimated. When I arrived, the place was packed. String lights, wine glasses clinking, laughter echoing from table to table. The air smelled like rosemary and grilled steak. I spotted them before they saw me. Corner table by the window, her hand resting on top of his. She was laughing, like she hadn't detonated our life 48 hours earlier. I walked up slowly. Nobody noticed at first. Then a waiter glanced over. Then a couple behind them stopped talking. Savannah looked up. Her smile dropped. Eli stiffened. His hand retracted like I was made of fire. "Hi," I said calmly. She blinked. "Noel, what are you doing here?" I ignored the question, reached over, picked up the crystal bowl of berry punch from the center of their table. Decorative, fruity, very expensive, and slammed it against the wall beside them. It shattered. The punch splashed across the white brick, spraying her dress, staining Eli's shirt like blood. The room froze. The silence was suffocating. Chairs stopped moving. Forks stopped clinking. The air turned to glass. And for the first time that night, maybe for the first time in months, Savannah actually looked afraid. Not just annoyed. Not cold. Afraid. Good. I looked right at her. "Tell them," I said. "Tell everyone here who you are. Who he is." She didn't respond. Just stared at me with those wide, guilty eyes. I turned to Eli. "You work in software, right? Tell them how I helped you land your new job. Tell them how you thanked me." He opened his mouth. I cut him off. "Shut up. You don't get to talk." Savannah rose, flustered. Brushing her wet dress like that would undo it. "You need to leave," she said. I smiled, wiped the splash of punch from my cheek. "Is that all that's left of you? A command?" I asked. "You burned down our marriage and now you want to control the cleanup?" More silence. Then I looked her in the eyes. Really looked at her. And something in me broke. Not like a snap. More like a slow collapse. Because standing there, watching her shrink under the weight of exposure, I didn't feel power. I didn't feel like I won anything. I felt a done. "How long, Savannah?" I asked one last time. Not in shrugs. Say it out loud. She looked around the room, at the dozens of eyes now fixed on us. At the staff frozen behind the bar. At Eli who looked ready to bolt. Then she said it. "Since last fall." Her voice was barely audible. But I heard it. And with that, the weight of it all landed on my chest like a collapsed ceiling. I nodded. "Cool," I whispered. "Good to know I was a prop in your life for 6 months." A middle-aged man near the bar whispered something to his wife. Another person pulled out their phone. I knew the story would travel. I didn't care. Eli finally stood, tried to place a hand on Savannah's shoulder. She flinched. "You said you were going to handle it," he hissed, loud enough for me to hear. "Handle it?" Savannah turned toward him, but I didn't wait to hear what came next. I didn't need a follow-up performance. I walked out, and this time I didn't look back. Outside, the night air hit me like a slap. I stood in the gravel lot, hands shaking, pulse racing, heart numb. I could hear the distant chatter from inside, the rising tension, people guessing at what they'd just seen. Good. Let them guess. For once, I wasn't protecting her reputation. I wasn't swallowing my pride. I wasn't shrinking to make space for her lies. I sat in my car, breathing hard, not crying, not yelling, just empty, like I'd poured everything I had into that moment and now there was nothing left. Not anger, not love, not fear, just stillness. It wasn't the kind of closure I expected. It didn't heal anything, but it ended the illusion. She couldn't take that from me, and neither could he. After I walked out of the restaurant, I didn't go home. I didn't want to sit in that house, the one we picked out together, painted together, dreamed in together, only to feel like a stranger inside it. I drove around for a while instead. No destination, no music, just the low hum of the engine and the occasional blur of headlights passing by. It was like I was moving through fog. Mentally, emotionally. I was somewhere between rage and disbelief, stuck in that surreal place you land in when your entire life gets yanked out from under you. But underneath the numbness, something was changing. A new voice started rising inside me, not the voice that said, "How could she?" or "What did I do wrong?" I'd heard enough of those. This one said, "You're not going to let them win." That voice felt sharper, calmer, focused. By the time I pulled into my driveway, something had shifted. I wasn't going to cry in the shower or lay in bed wondering what went wrong. I wasn't going to be the guy who lets a cheater walk out with half his life and none of the blame. I was going to fight back. Not with fists. Not with rage. With facts. I grabbed Savannah's tablet off the kitchen counter. The same one that had shattered the illusion. I sat down at the dining table, opened it again, and started combing through it. I wasn't snooping now. I was building a case. She'd left everything logged in. Her work email. Her shared drive. Even a note-taking app filled with random scribbles, meeting notes, vacation ideas, packing lists, and something else. Messages. *TS. Journals. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Turns out this wasn't just a fling. It wasn't some heat-of-the-moment mistake. Savannah and Eli had been planning this for a while. I found messages where they coordinated fake business trips. Jokes about me being predictable. A message where she said, "If things blow up, I'll say he's been controlling. He's always so serious. It'll be believable." Controlling. That's what she'd use against me. There was even a rough draft of a statement she planned to send to friends and coworkers if things went public, twisting the narrative, framing herself as the wounded wife who was emotionally neglected. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding. She hadn't just cheated on me. She had prepared for the fallout. Had backup lies in place. Had her story ready to go like a loaded G***N. I forwarded everything to my personal email, every message, every note, every screenshot*T. Then I called Travis. Travis was my old college roommate. Now he was a family attorney, sharp as hell and allergic to drama but ruthless when it mattered. When he picked up and heard my voice, he didn't even say hello. "What happened?" "Everything," I said. "And I've got receipts." I sent him the files. By the next morning, we were meeting in his office. "You've got enough here," he said, flipping through the **TS like a surgeon studying x-rays. "This isn't just adultery. This is manipulation. She was setting you up." "Exactly. She's going to lose a lot more than your respect," he added, tapping a highlighted message where Savannah told Eli she planned to access our joint savings before he notices. "She won't get a dime," I said. "Not 1 cent. Travis nodded. "We'll freeze all joint assets today. Emergency order. She doesn't know you're filing yet, right?" "Not a clue." "Good. Let's keep it that way. You're going to file first. Get ahead of it. Control the story." That afternoon we drafted the paperwork. I filed for divorce. Travis also filed for a restraining order, not because Savannah had been violent, but because I had text messages where she joked about snapping if he tries to make me look bad, and another where she said, "I'll burn it all down before I let him win." We weren't taking chances. Travis also contacted the bank. Froze the joint accounts. Canceled pending auto-pay transfers she had set up to her personal Venmo. The car and house titles were already mostly in my name, and he expedited paperwork to lock it all down. By dinner, Savannah still hadn't reached out. No clue what was waiting for her. But the next day, it started. It always starts with the spin. She sent me a text. "We need to talk. I know you're hurting, but I never meant to cause this. Can we fix it? Please don't do anything rash." I didn't reply. A few hours later. "You're scaring me. You froze everything? What are you doing?" "I have bills too." Then came the shift. A long, unhinged message that accused me of being cold, emotionally distant, manipulative. She said she felt trapped for years, that she had no choice but to find love elsewhere. And then, the final blow. "You made me feel unsafe. I have texts and journal entries. If this goes to court, you'll regret it." That was her mistake. She threatened me. I sent everything to Travis. He compiled it all, her threats, her manipulations, her fabricated stories. And he had the ultimate trump card, a full digital trail of her planning to fake victimhood. We weren't just on the offensive now, we were airtight. The next week, she tried a different tactic. Crying voicemails. Guilt trips. Mutual friends reached out. "Savannah says you blindsided her. She says you're being cruel." I sent them a file. No commentary. Just the facts. Funny how fast the sympathy dried up. Then something unexpected happened. Savannah's employer got wind of it. Apparently using her corporate email and company time to coordinate affairs, create false abuse narratives, and plan fake trips wasn't the power move she thought it was. She was placed on leave. 2 days later, terminated. Just like that. I didn't cheer. I didn't feel victorious. This wasn't about revenge. This was about reclaiming my name. Because for months, maybe longer, I had been living in a script someone else was writing for me. I was the oblivious husband, the background character in my own marriage, the one they pitted while smiling to my face. Now I had flipped the script, and all I had to do was tell the truth. After the freeze, the filings, and the silence, Savannah's life began to unravel fast and loud. She didn't take the job loss quietly. Word got out at her company that she'd misused internal communication tools to cover her affair and craft fake narratives. It wasn't just cheating. It was ethics, peer risk, liability. HR shut it down in less than 48 hours. Eli didn't stick around either. A friend of mine from work mentioned he'd seen Eli at a bar downtown, alone, looking rough, no wedding ring. Apparently, once things got messy, he backed out. No declarations of love. No defending her. Just vanished. And the friends? The ones she used to call her tribe? Gone. Slowly. Quietly. One unfollowed her. Then another. Then they just stopped responding to her posts, stopped liking, stopped replying. They weren't going to ride sh*TG*N on a sinking ship. The final nail? Her mother. She showed up on my doorstep. I wasn't going to answer at first. But when I opened the door, she was standing there with a small container of lemon bars, Savannah's favorite, and tears already in her eyes. I don't know what happened to her, she said softly. But this wasn't how she was raised. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this. I didn't know what to say. I didn't hate Savannah's mother. Honestly, it broke my heart that she was the one apologizing. I know, I said. That was all. Savannah tried one last tactic after that, social media. She posted a photo of herself in the park, eyes red, no caption. Then came vague quotes about healing and abuse survivors. It was a desperate play for sympathy. But no one bought it. Because the truth? It was already out. And I didn't have to say a single word. The first few days alone felt strange. Empty but also clean. The quiet wasn't cold, it was mine. I moved out of the house shortly after the court finalized everything. I let her have the empty walls and the memories. I took the car, my savings, my name, and the part of myself that had been asleep for years. My new apartment wasn't much: white walls, mismatched furniture, a coffee table I built by hand, but it smelled like wood and fresh starts. No secrets. No lies. Just peace. I started reconnecting with people I'd neglected. Old friends. My brother. I started lifting again. I even signed up for a cooking class just because I could. The space she used to fill was turning into something new. Something solid. Savannah still tried to reach me: emails, texts. Some sad. Some furious. Some manipulative, like nothing had changed. But I didn't answer. I had nothing left to say. Travis helped me secure everything. The house and car were legally mine. She couldn't touch my accounts. I changed every password, blocked her on everything, erased the past without bitterness, just clarity. 1 year later, I found myself walking the same hill country trail I used to love. The sky was orange, the wind quiet, and I stopped to breathe. Just breathe. And I thought about that night at the cottage door. That man I was, shaking, broken. If I could speak to him now, I'd say this. You think this is the end. But really, it's your beginning. You'll rise. You'll rebuild. And one day soon, you'll feel the sun on your face and realize she never had the power to destroy you. She only showed you who you really are. And that man? He'd smile.